Hey there guys, there's the Hound here. A lot of you guys who follow the channel know me from Twitch, where I do a lot of aviation related stuff, and mostly fly X-plane and such. But just like the Wright brothers, I also have an interest in bicycles. I own 2 road bikes. One I'll be butchering a little bit for this bike. The goal was to make a commuter to get to and from work quickly, and so I shopped around and I found a e-bike that really checked all the boxes. And I'll tell you about the test ride later. But right now, I'm on day 1 of my first ever vacation from work. I've never had paid time off before, so this was a real treat. I had the camera sitting around and a willingness to record, and I just went at it. Okay? Anyways, so here I am, pulling the pedals off of the Specialized Alley in the background. And there are the shoes that go with it. Okay, right there is some bike chain lube. And pro tip for you guys, if you ever get a brand new bike, definitely go ahead, clean the chain, which I'll show later here in the video. But mostly what they have on there is not lubricant. Usually it's a anti-corrosive of some kind that they coat the chain with while it's in the store or in storage, so that you don't get a rusted bike chain. Okay, this is also the first bike I've ever had with disc brakes, and surprisingly it wasn't as difficult to put together as I thought it was going to be. It worked a lot like pulling the brake caliper off a car. There were 2 bolts that secure it, and really everything just slides together if it's lined properly. So there was a little bit of assembly required on the bike. Most of it was in the fork and handlebar area, as well as sliding the bike seat on and, you know, securing the battery and everything, but that wasn't too bad. There I am setting the battery down here. Pulling out the charger. I'm going to go set it over there. There's a wall outlet behind me somewhere where you can't see out of frame there. But yeah, I plugged it in to go charge it and make sure it's all topped off for later. Okay, upon inspection of the bike, almost everything came pretty well packaged, with the exception of what I just showed you there. There was a little bit of damage, and it looks like on the inside of the fork there's a really rough spot where the aluminum probably snagged on a blade or something while it was being cut during the manufacturing process. So a little bit of a defect there, but overall pretty happy with the bike. I can probably fix that piece on my own. Pulling out a handful of the various components to go ahead and take a look at them and make sure everything's there. This part does not match the instruction manual at all. They listed a handful of bearings and bushings and such, and you know, upon inspection of that front fork tube there, well, I found that actually most of it had already been pressed into the headset for you from the factory. So part of the assembly process was not necessary in the instruction manual. But it really threw me off there for a while because I thought I was missing parts. And you'll see me later checking for mechanical play in the fork and the headset because I was concerned about you know, a bushing or something missing. Yep, there I am, struggling with the whole process of putting this fork together. Um, Now you can also see me here trying to hold the bike up with my knee and it's sliding down, and it was a big hassle. I would highly recommend that you have a bike repair stand to assemble this. I haven't owned one in many years because I just don't get to bike as often as I used to, and it just took up a lot of extra space. So I'm doing the best I can here. So I left this part pretty unedited because I hope that maybe someone in the future who might also be putting this bike together will come and see this and figure out what the heck is going on here. There's me pulling the fork back off, careful not to overextend those cables and whatnot. Okay, checking the fork and that front headset there for the mechanical play. Just pressing down really firmly, see if the shocks actuate properly and they have good travel. They're not snagging anywhere. So one extra thing I did get for this bike are these splash guards here. All of you guys that ride are probably familiar with the fact that if you're going to ride in the rain or even a little bit of light snow, all that road grime, all that water will get slung right up your back. And being that this is a commuter bike, I'd really prefer not to show up to work stained with dirt and mud on my back. So those were kind of a necessary addition to the bike that I usually wouldn't do. Here I'm just recycling some of that packaging that came with the bike to protect it from a little bit of scratching while I rest the handlebars there. Just trying to alleviate some of the stress on the cables and the brackets and everything that hold it up because it's a brand new bike and I prefer to protect those things. Now here you'll see me open up that instruction manual and well, start working on getting those handlebars installed. But it was almost incoherent. Not that the translations were bad, but a lot of the components that they say you're supposed to have already been pressed into the headset for you. And you don't really have to worry about it. But in the manual, they show the full process as if you were going to install it with the races and the bearings not pressed in there. So I'm leaving this in here just in case anybody else notices that and finds some comfort in knowing that well, that's just not the case. It was actually quite simple after you figured out where all the pieces were going and how they fit. But when I assembled it, one thing I definitely made sure to do was check for play in the components by putting some pressure on that fork, testing the shocks, making sure they're bounding, rebounding the way that they're supposed to. Yep, so there goes the spacer collar. Yep, just continuing to look at that manual, scratch my head, and wonder why nothing's going together. All right, so I've pretty much finished assembling that fork there after playing around with some of the races and things and getting everything to fit correctly. Yeah, I did turn the bike around here for some reason. And now it's time to install that disc brake. So the bolts were just screwed in there lightly. I just spun them off with the Allen wrench and went ahead and slid everything together. The brake pads were pre-installed and they seemed pretty secure in there. They probably got some sort of spring holding them in, or like an interference fit or something. But anyway, so there I am. I'm just screwing in those two bolts. That's it. It's really that simple for the brake caliper there. Okay, there I am working on securing the wheel to the bike frame. And it's just two nuts, just like any other bike. I did think that they had skewers for some reason when I bought it, like a quick release front wheel, which is really nice to have, but not a necessity in this case. I can probably just take a wrench with me or something to loosen them if I ever have to remove the wheel to get into a car or something. Not to worry, not a big deal. It's all right. Moving right along like I know what I'm doing here. It's time to install the splash guards. Oh, and there's the tail light I was talking about. Okay, one of the cool things about it, as you can just see there, it projects kind of a diamond-shaped border around you using lasers. And then it also has the LED rear light. So for visibility, not only are you getting the red in a strobe or solid light, you're getting that laser border, which does really improve visibility at night for drivers. They will know that you're there. And especially with how many cyclists have died in hit and runs in the last 2 years, right around where I live, I don't want to take any chances. I will light it myself up like a Christmas tree if I have to. And just putting the finishing touches on securing that front and rear splash guard. And we're almost ready to go with the bike. Okay, there I am doing some last minute checks on the bike. Make sure there's nothing that I missed there. Looks like I'm tightening up that fork a little bit more. And now I'm working on the factory headlight and getting that mounted. It's just a simple 1-bolt thing, and then you plug it into the wiring harness. Okay, now I'm gonna affix the clipless pedals. These are mountain bike pedals, which is perfect because this is a mountain bike. So it's got a proper setup now. Always remember that when you're putting in that left-handed pedal, it is reverse threaded. So counterclockwise to tighten. If you don't do that, you might strip those aluminum cranksets and you're done for. Anyways, there's the headlight I got for the bike. Now, a pretty nifty thing about the headlight and the battery for the bike is that both of them have a power bank function. So you could use them to recharge your electronics. All right, now, I'm not a big fan of bells, so you do see me pulling one off there. I can use my voice to call out when you know, I'm passing somebody. Right there, I was just checking the front of the bike to make sure that the handlebars and the fork are tightly connected, and they aren't going to, you know, turn inadvertently, which would be kind of dangerous. And cutting off some extra zip ties. Oh yeah, that's right. They were holding on the keys. Yep. That's the first application of throttle there. Testing it out. Look at that. One working e-bike. On to the next piece here. Like I was saying earlier in the video, it's a really good idea to clean these chains. Now, I just use, for this part, Dawn dish soap and water on a wet paper towel. The thing is that, oh, look at that. You know, when you have kids, they tend to like to jump into things here. But that's okay. Anyways, so I'm just kind of working it into the chain here, but it's a thick solution of Dawn dish soap and water. I'm just kind of letting it soak here, kind of break down whatever anti-corrosive they have on the chain there. And now I'm cleaning it off. This one is just a dry paper towel, just trying to soak up some of the excess water there. Ran over to the sink to wet it. Now I'm rinsing it with a wet towel. Now, a lot of people will say you need to use a bike chain cleaner, but being an automotive tech for a while, there were many occasions where we just used Dawn dish soap to clean up oily stuff. It works really well, it breaks it down, and it's less expensive than, you know, a spray can of oil cleaner. Right there, you saw me just kind of tugging on the chain a little bit. Checking derailleur tension. You know, I wanted to kind of get a feel for some of the components they're using. Just continuing to rinse that chain with wet paper towels now, no soap. The application I did later, but I use a wax-based lubricant. You saw at the beginning of the video, that's the muck-off stuff. You know, basically, I really aim to try and keep a cleaner chain, and wax-based lubricants work really well on bikes, especially for the chain. Okay, so now it's time to check some of the other components on the bike. You can see here we have the headlight I installed. Oh, and look at that, there's the display. Looks pretty good, I think. Okay, these are the controls for the bike. There's the headlight they supplied. There's the headlight I got. Now, I believe that it's really important for any rider to, when they first get a bike, take the time to adjust everything properly so that you're not injuring yourself while you're riding. You know, a bad seat position is probably one of the worst things you can do to your back, and it can actually really slow you down if the seat's not up high enough. Okay, now here, this is how you adjust the brakes from the handlebars. I like to reserve that for when I'm out riding and need to make some adjustments on the fly. I don't even have to get off the bike to adjust them from there. Down below, there's another method right at the other end of the cable there. Very similar setup. You can unscrew this little nut right over here, and that will tighten the cable. And if you screw it in, it gives it slack. Be careful with the clearance on the disc brakes here. Anyways, that's my video. I hope you like it. Come join me on my streams on Twitch, or just follow me here. Either way is great. Thank you very much.